Okay. Well, welcome everybody out to Getting Statistics Ready workshop. I intend this workshop to be very, um, uh, very much a discussion and not me lecturing or talking. I do give some ideas as to how to gather these statistics from Verso and other places, but I also want you to share your ideas that you have and that you've used over the years. And hopefully through this whole process, we can all learn from each other and find better and easier ways to go about gathering statistics for the statistical report, for sharing with our local officials, state officials, and for just general advocacy and awareness. So my agenda today is very short. I just gave you the introduction pretty much. So right there, we're done with number one. Um, we'll talk about statistics in Verso, um, other statistics, and then closing remarks. And I do have a caveat that I wanted to start with though this morning, and that is that I have no idea what the 2020 public library survey will look like at this point. The state library is still in the process of figuring that out themselves. But I know there will be questions about COVID-19 and the library's response to the pandemic. So you can bet there will be some questions about that. And I know they will be doing a workshop probably in January to help everybody out to understand those questions and to get it filled out. But as always, I just tell you, do the best you can when you're completing that survey. And I know you will. All right, so let's jump into statistics and Verso. So, Ari, unfortunately for you, I've got your statistical report for 2019 up over on my other monitor, and I might jump over to that every now and then, just so that we can see the questions that we know that are going to continue on the survey. So, for instance, we know you're going to still have to identify yourself in your library and enter all that general information about how many bookmobiles you have, because I know all of you have about 6 or 7 running at the same time, right? And all of that good stuff. Your employees' salary survey, benefits, operating income, and so on and so forth. But today, I want to start off with the actual statistics that we can pull from Verso in regards to number of patrons, and the books and all that information that we need to put on the survey. And so that all falls in various spots here in the report. But let's start with number of registered users. So in the past, I've used circ reports, run reports, and then just get a patron listing. When I do so, I select the patron category for just the patrons, and then I limit that by the group because we have different categories and groups that we can limit it by, and then select creation date, because if you select the other option, it will only give you the ones that you have modified recently. So is this how everybody goes about gathering that data, or do they have a different way? Now, I've learned with Verso, there's a lot of different ways that you can do things. So, and Victoria's nodding her head because I know she's come up with a lot of those different ways. So, is this how everybody else pretty much does it? Okay. All right.
Yes.
Oh, and just to let you know too, I have a copy of this PowerPoint on the website right underneath the Zoom link, and it'll still be there after this. So if there's some of these things that you want access to, you can just grab them off of there. Okay, so the thing that I've always struggled with, and I'm guessing all of you have had the same struggle, is the number of items. And so books owned at the beginning of 2020 is pretty easy because you can just draw that from your previous report survey. But the books added during the calendar year, that's a pretty easy one too, because I just use circ reports, run reports, new titles. The thing that I've always struggled with, and maybe somebody has a better answer than what I've added here, is the books withdrawn during the calendar year. Now, the way that I've done that in the past is whenever I do weeding and withdrawal from the collection, I do it through item exception. So then I run that multiple item exception from circulation. And so then you scan every book. And then after you've got that done, then you delete those item exceptions. And when you do that, you can at that point run a report as well that then gives you how many books you've deleted exceptions for. And so that usually then will be my withdrawal number. But then if you do it throughout the year, you've got to make sure you collect those numbers throughout the year. I wish there was something in Verso that collected that data throughout the year and you could just go back and get it. Does anybody know of a way to do that? Or is the way that I've outlined here pretty much? Yes, go ahead, speak.
Well, we literally just mark them as we've got a piece of paper that we just hash mark everything we've withdrawn into categories. So we've done that for years and that's just how we've always done it rather than, because it's always ongoing with us. So,
right, sure.
Yeah. So I didn't even think about, I run those, obviously those delete reports, but I never thought about saving them as the count. So, because we just make the mark when we withdraw them. So that's
Right,
how
sure.
we do it.
Okay, all right. Anybody else have a thought on that? Pat, when you did it, how did you keep track? Because I know you had a big weeding project recently. Did you keep track on paper? Oh, you're muted, Pat. Pat, you're muted. Sorry.
Pretty much basically this way.
Okay, all right.
I mean, I think somebody helped me with it even at the end.
Okay.
And we ran it this way when we had
Okay.
that huge weeding last year.
Yeah, okay. This is really the only way that I found with the system, because I've run a ton of reports recently just to see what I could figure out and find, and there really isn't any other way. One thing though that I want to emphasize too is that once you do that delete item exceptions where you're deleting out all those holdings, then after you do that, you do need to go into circ reports, run reports, and then delete the bibs without items. And then that will then go through and finish that deletion process for you. So that first process is just getting rid of the holding. The bibliographic record is still in the system. And then once you do that second report that then allows you to delete those bibs without records or holdings, then that will finish that whole process. So, okay, any questions?
No.
Okay. Excellent. All right, next. So then the total print materials at the end of 2020. So because of the way the report is set up, you will have your beginning amount, what you've withdrawn, what you've added. Then you should be able to do some simple math. I say hopefully because hopefully it works out for you. I know a couple of years there when we first got Verso, it was not working out for me. I would add and subtract and I'd get a different number than what the system said I should be getting. And so there were a couple times I wanted to scream a little bit, but finally we've gotten everything to work now. So. Okay, so let's talk about the total audio physical units. Again, this is in circ reports, run reports, and then I usually just do a location holding. So I'll do a location holding for the library, but then I'll put a material type for audio, CD, or whatever you have for audio. Sometimes you might have a couple different material types. You might have audio CD, you might have playaways or things like that. So you want to run that report for all your locations that are all your material types that you have in your library, and then add those together. And the same thing with the video. That's at least that's how I do it. Anybody have a different way that they run the audio and video that they'd like to share?
Yeah, George, I asked Nancy to run it for me and give it to me.
Peter. Excellent. Okay.
Every once in a while I do try it, but she's so much better. I just say, here, you do it.
Yeah. No, I understand. Yeah, there's times when I'm trying to run a report and I'm like, Dave, I don't know how this works. Come help me. And then he'll come in and he'll say, I don't know how it works either. Let's talk to Maureen.
Well, I was going to say, George, with Melanie's comment that everybody scatters. Everybody on staff scatters, and you do this, you do that. I'll do this. Everybody's working on this report when we do it. So
Yeah. That's good. That's good. I'd love to hear that. Get everybody involved. All right. Audio downloadable, video downloadable, and electronic books. As you know, Dave gets that all filled in for you guys, for everybody. So that's one you don't have to worry about. Number of all other materials. Okay, and so this is anything else except for magazines, because magazines will come into the next category. And so this would be all your kits, toys, board games, stuff like that. And again, I use that same option of circ reports, run reports, location holdings to get that information. And then, of course, you've got your print serial subscriptions. Now, there's a lot of discussion around this one, usually. Counting magazines, do we count just the subscriptions? How have all of you done this in the past?
I count the subscriptions, the number of magazines we subscribe to.
That's what I count also. And newspapers.
Yep, newspapers would count. That's right. Absolutely. Yep. And if you have graphic novels, comic books that come regularly on subscription, that would count as well. So.
Yeah.
I think I do it by what's actually served.
Oh, okay. So you do it by
It's a
circulation.
circulation report, yeah.
Mm.
Unless you're talking about the number of print items that.
This would just be the number of actual subscriptions that you get.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Well, yeah, that's what we do. Yeah,
Okay.
you're right.
Okay. All right. Very good. So this is all pretty regular. I'm glad to hear that. So. All right. And then my last ones for statistics and Verso are circulation of adult materials. Again, statistics, and then circulation statistics, and then item location detail is what I usually use. Same with the children's materials. And then again, use of electronic materials, again, are all automatically filled in by Dave. And then interlibrary loan, this is one I had a little bit of question about, excuse me there. Statistics, ILL statistics, activity, and request report. So I've run this in the past, and it is a huge report. I think I get the information I need out of it, but any thoughts from all of you? Is that what all of you do too, or do you have a different path?
We have a stat report we have to give to at the board meetings. And so it's on there and I just add it for the year. So we do it monthly. Then we just
Okay.
add it at the end of the year.
Okay.
Same with us, George. It's basically income. So we do it off of our income and things like that. So that's how I keep track of it.
Okay. Okay, very good. Well, sometime take a look at that report that I've pointed out.
I'm sorry, George. This is the interlibrary loan.
Yes.
I thought this was a different report. Never mind what I just said.
Okay. Well, I was assuming you were saying that your incoming books through Courier, that's how you were counting it or something like that. So.
Well, that is true, but I thought this was an income. I thought this was the grant report.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind.
Sorry. Oh, that's all right. No problem. This report I've discovered has a lot of information. Like you can see how many items you sent to specific libraries. I mean, it really gives you a lot of detail. So someday just take a look at it, see if there's anything exciting in there that you might want to share with somebody. Okay, now we're going to get to the real discussion part of this, and that's the things that are outside of Verso. Okay, so library visits. Oakley, you're ticking, right? Okay, good. And some of the libraries we got people counters for. How are those working?
I like ours. I mean, we use it.
Okay.
One of our doors is working and one of them is not. So we've got a different system and use both systems.
Okay, yeah, I heard about the sun. The sun was causing problems or something. with
Yeah,
that.
and that one, we don't know why, but that door counter on the other system that we purchased works. And the smaller door counter in the weird, our east door, it works with the one you guys gave us. So
Right.
we just put them together.
Okay,
We don't know why, what happened.
yeah.
Well, I have to say our setup's probably a little different than everybody else's because we've tried the people counters, but because we are in a lobby that's shared by the museum, people go in and out to use the bathroom and we don't count. I mean, with the door counter, it would count every time somebody opened and shut the door. And so we don't use those. That's why we just make a hash mark when somebody walks in, because we're a completely different setup where you guys are all your own building. You probably don't have as much of that, where we have bathrooms in the lobby, so kids and the parents go in and out. So that's why we do it the way we do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So both of those systems work. If you don't have people counters and you do want them because you have a better setup than Oakley, please contact us and we can get you some of those if you'd like to try them. Okay, reference transactions. This is always a tough one too. How are we counting reference transactions?
I did quit counting bathroom, telling people where the bathrooms are. Because I think that's actually on there. That doesn't count.
Right,
But,
right.
Yeah, other than that, if we've given them any kind of information that's helping them out, we count it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
We tick ours off too.
do you take ticks? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's what we do. Also, we do the tick marks for those.
Okay.
And then if I forget to do one, the next time I mark it 5 times because I helped them.
I see.
I'm always forgetting to do that.
Hey, I understand. I do. Anybody else?
Kind of what we do is we don't do it every day. We take different weeks out of the year and do it, and then just assume that, because we don't really have time to sit down and keeping tallies. So we try to do it for a week and then like once a month, and then we just compute it.
Okay, gotcha. So you extrapolate it over the year. Gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah, George, it's Harry. With us, we're not a very large library and don't have a whole lot of patrons, so it's pretty easy to just keep a daily count.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Do you think there's anything we can do to help you make it easier, reference transactions? Because I'm not sure that there's anything, I've never heard of anything technological wise that would help. So most of the big libraries, they do the same thing. They keep a log and people that are working the reference desk have to take off.
Maybe we should ask Walmart.
Yeah, there you go.
They have they do something on their iPad. Every
Yeah, they
time you
do.
open the
I
door.
wonder what they do. Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. So let's go to operating income. So I've shared this with a few of you, but the Kansas Municipal Services website is amazing. And if you haven't been there, I would recommend that you go there. The Kansas Municipal Services provides workshops every year for budgeting for the cities. counties, and for any other municipalities or special districts like us. And this is where all of that budget information is housed. So they have all the budgets for all the cities, all the counties, all the special districts. They also have all the audits from all of those folks. They just have a wealth of information. And so it's a good place to go to find out, just the city budget, see how you fit into the city budget, and how you fit in with even the rest of the districts there in your area. And so take some time and go check it out. And you'll probably find some information there that you're like, wow, I didn't know our city was doing that, and so on and so forth. And so most of this information for the operating income you can get from municipal services, from your city, from your own financial reports. So it should be a pretty easy process to go through. Has anybody had any struggles with this in the past, or do they go about it a different way? Do you go about it a different way? Okay. Silence should be telling. Likewise, your expenditures should be pretty simple as well. That should just be from your financial reports. I know that sometimes it's hard getting all of the specific expenditures into the lines that you want them and all that stuff, but it should be relatively easy. Okay, number of uses or sessions of public internet computers per year. So how is Envisionware going? Is it helping?
It works really well for us because you can just run it at the end of the year. And we used to keep track of that, daily, and we'd reshelve. And when somebody walked over there to sit down, now we can just wait till the end of the year and run it.
Okay.
Yeah,
good.
I really like that Envisionware, being able to run that report.
Great.
Excellent. I know it's gotten rid of a lot of those sign-up sheets on desks.
Yeah, that's been nice. And it also just keeps track of, we don't have to be the computer Nazis anymore.
Right, yeah.
We
It
like
just does
that.
it itself.
Is there a way on Envisionware, do they ask us how many adults and how many children use it
In the
in this survey? I
let
don't
me
think
go,
Envisionware tells us that. We've been trying to keep track
let me go
separately.
look. I don't think it does. Nope, it just asks for the number of sessions.
Okay. So
But
I
that's-
wonder why
that's
why do we keep keeping track of adults versus children?
That
I
might
can't
be a
remember
local
now why.
statistic that your board wants you to keep.
Maybe, okay. 'Cause
I
that
know
would be good.
I know
if
that
we
sounds like
used
it would be good
to-
information. Okay, let's see, Nathan, you guys still use Verso, right, to count yours?
That is correct. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, what we do is basically every time somebody comes in, we've got barcodes for all the 3 computers, and we just kind of zap in one of those barcodes.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, so everybody's got their way and you're comfortable with what you're doing?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, wireless sessions, we still don't really have access to that information since a lot of our libraries do have Nextech. And so through the Nextech wireless, they don't track how many users and all of that. So we can't get that information for all of you, but we do have some libraries. Pioneer, are you able to track your wireless sessions?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, and Goodland, same?
No, we have not been.
Okay, still, okay, gotcha.
Actually, George, what we do is we look at how many people come in over a day and decide how many, kind of give an average of how many people walk in and with their phones and their laptops, and we'll actually write, if somebody comes in with something like their laptop, we'll write it down.
Okay,
And so we estimate it, and then we take off all the information from our kids' computers too. So we have that, and then yeah,
Yeah.
we estimated them. I'm not going to leave it blank. Sorry if they don't like it. Tough.
yeah,
Just
Sometimes
every single person that walks in almost has a cell phone with a smartphone, and we're probably underestimating the number of people that walk in and use it.
what I do sometimes is just ping to see how many things are on. You know,
Yeah.
where you can ping it and see how many
yeah. How many devices are connected
yeah,
to
how
it?
many devices are on, and then just take that as an average. I don't know if it's worth,
That's
but
good.
No,
at
I think that's good.
because otherwise you just really don't know. But if you do that every once in a while, you can kind of get an idea of how many devices are on. Because almost everyone's phone and I mean, it's a kind of amazing if you have very many people in here, how many actually are
Mhm.
using it.
Yeah.
I was going to ask too, because we got the boosters, and I've been looking around to see if there's any way to actually run some kind of a report that would show how many were on since we got them. And I don't know that there is. I've been looking, I haven't found one. So that's maybe a you and Dave question
Okay,
at some
yeah.
point.
Well,
But
I'll jot that down and see if Dave has.
yeah, because and honestly, you know, like Melanie, they're not going to challenge that, because let's face it, there's no way to know in a lot of cases what's going on. You might have people using it when you're not even there, because, you know,
Well,
we leave
true.
ours running all the time. So you got people that are driving by, maybe parking and using it. So yeah, you just got to guess, I think.
Unfortunately,
I had kind of asked Dave about this. I think pre-COVID, honestly. I can't remember what the name of the software was, but I think he was indicating that there is some kind of software, and it may be installed on the router. I don't know for sure, but basically he was indicating, yeah, there is a software way to count, you know, people getting on your Wi-Fi, but it's probably best to kind of install it at the beginning of the year.
And I think Dave's working on our switches. I think the switches, once he gets that done, he'll be able to tell us all that kind of information. He'll be able to monitor it and know what our wireless is. At least that's, I think, what he told me.
okay.
But that'll be next year, not this year.
Yeah, right. And I'll talk to Dave more about that, because I think the libraries that don't have Nextech, we should be able to find a way to do that, to count your wireless statistics. Because I really think this is a huge statistic that all of us are missing out on, because
Exactly.
there's a lot of usage of that.
So
Well-
George, are you saying, should we give an estimate of people that drive up in cars? Because we notice that at our library too, a lot. But we don't,
Here's-
you know, we just have to estimate because we have no way of knowing. They can come when we're not there.
Right. And that's what I would recommend. Honestly, I would recommend taking maybe a couple of weeks in the year, figure out how many people are coming into the library using their devices in the library, how many people are sitting out in the parking lot using your Wi-Fi. If you drive by the library in the evening, going home from something, see if there's anybody there, and just take and extrapolate that over the year, and I'd count that. Because I'd rather give a number than nothing at all.
Yeah, okay.
And the one thing I want to ask, are you guys counting staff too? Because
Yes.
when my phone comes in, it automatically connects to the Wi-Fi here. And if I use my phone, I'm counting it because I'm using the internet here at the library.
I would do the same. Absolutely. If you're using the internet for something other than work purposes, so if you're on a break and you're sitting in the front, yeah. Or if you're even at your desk and you're using it to,
Yeah, and I even do it like, even if not work purposes, if I'm walking around and somebody asks me a question and I'll be looking on my phone or whatever, you know, because it's automatically connected to the Wi-Fi here.
yeah, I think that's perfectly legal.
You also have to remember all meetings and things that they come to, because if they're at a meeting or a kids thing, doesn't mean those parents aren't on their little phone doing their little thing.
That's
Okay,
right.
but
So
then
take
there's
the
my
portion
question
out.
there is the fact that, yeah, they might be on their phone, but are they actually on your internet or are they on maybe their data stream or something?
Right.
And then how do you count that? I mean, I like Karen's idea of going and looking at how many devices are on, but
I don't have that ability to look at the devices at this point, but you guys can. That's good.
Well, I'll tell you, I think most of us, if we go someplace and we notice that they have Wi-Fi, I'm connecting to it because I'm not going
Exactly.
to use my data. I'm
I
gonna
do too.
use-
And you would think most people would because it's free and
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say is it's better to assume that that they're on your wireless connection when they're in there. I think, because like you said, we're underestimating it probably anyway.
yeah,
So why not?
yep. Very good. Any other comments, questions, thoughts on that? I like this discussion. Okay. Another thing that I think we miss out on a lot of too is the traffic on our websites. Now I know Oakley doesn't because you guys have that magazine link and you get a lot of hits. So that's awesome. Or not magazine, newspaper link. There.
Yeah, newspaper, yeah.
Yeah. But I think we miss out on a lot of these website visits. And again, as Desiree kind of pointed out, it's the hard thing with Verso is it's hard to figure out who's user and who is patron, but there are still a lot of hits to our Verso from guests and things like that that I think would be appropriate to count, as well as our websites, because our Verso also has a front-facing site that people are going to go to. And so use any of the visits that people make to your Verso as well as your website. And one thing we need to do is make sure that every website has a web counter on it to count people's visits, their sessions, how long they're on and all that. And that's something that Dave and I will be working on here this coming year, is to make sure that we can have access to that information. So, but definitely go in and run some of those reports, and it's under statistics. If you want to look at searches, I mean, it keeps track of a lot of different things, and it's really neat information. Okay, now we're going to move on to the big ugly for 2020. Programming. So you should have all of the programming attendance for the summer reading stuff that we did. I think Mary sent all that information out. How are all of you going about gathering programming statistics? Now, those of you that are now having story times in your library, that's great, and that'll be easy to count. But during COVID and during lockdown and all that, what are some of your ideas here on how you're going to count programming?
Well, first of all, we probably do more programming now. Steve's programming a lot more here because of the online. So he's doing a lot more that way. And what he does is he goes out, everything goes on Facebook. And then on the 6th day, he counts how many views after 6 days of it being out. And then we move on from there because there's another thing going to come out anyway. So that's how we've been doing it, is he just counts the views after 6 days.
Okay.
We're going to count what we've done and what little bit we've done online. I don't know, I don't know at this point what our statistics are for those things. I haven't been as diligent as Steve, and unfortunately, and go and check some of them, but I need to before they all go away. So we'll see.
Okay.
Good question.
We've been trying to do a lot more with Facebook. For instance, right now we have gingerbread houses that families have done and voting, and we're allowing them to vote online, and I'm counting that as a program. Because they can call it, or they can message us and let us know who they want to vote for. We have pictures online, And same way with, we always give away Christmas bags and different things. We're just trying to use the Facebook as an interactive way to promote the library and consider it programming. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, I think that'll work perfectly. And I would also keep track of just the COVID mentioning it. The money that you spent on any plexiglass or any of that stuff, I imagine that'll be a question. How much you spent on protection for employees and things like that. I'm sure that'll be in the COVID section. And they'll probably ask you, things along that line in regards to that, probably with programming. How much online programming did you do compared to face-to-face? I imagine there's going to be a lot of that kind of thing. So just to get you thinking ahead whenever we do find out what those questions are. Okay, anything else? Anybody like to share about programming and how they're counting it? Okay, all right, very good. So now, last slide, closing remarks. So anybody have any questions, comments, ideas, thoughts about the survey itself, about this crazy time we're in and trying to figure out how we're going to get our statistics done, or anything else in general?
I have two comments. One is, I think that no matter which way you did the statistics last year, I think it's important to keep consistent so that you're not having that big jump, or
Right.
else you'd have to explain it, obviously.
Right.
My second thing is that my board always kind of tried to remind me that, hey, especially, and I would tell this to directors, is that it might not hurt to start writing some notes about how you get the statistics, so that, goodness forbid, that if somebody else had to do it the next year, that they would know how to do it.
Right.
Because my board always says, hey, have you cross-trained them? Like Victoria said, hey, everybody kind of runs and does their little pieces, but do your staff know how all those pieces come together, or the easy way to get those pieces of who they need to contact, who they in a bind, who, what's going to happen. So especially during this time of COVID, it's reminded us that we are not going to be here forever. So I think that's important for directors as well.
Very good.
Excellent thoughts. I got it kind of dropped on me very suddenly several years ago, but I figured that's what the system's for. So I thought, well, if I have questions,
Yeah.
I'm calling George.
We're the institutional
But
memory.
in the meantime, I do like the reason Trish is on here today is because I said, you need to know kind of how to gather this stuff too. Even though, yeah, they do their bits and pieces. Because, yeah, Sharon's right. You got to kind of have a backup plan.
The other thing that I think is kind of awkward for this year is I believe it's this year that we had the state person change as well. So it wasn't the same Megan or whoever we contacted in years past. So this person is kind of new to it as well. So maybe it would be a good choice to contact George or Dave.
Yeah. And Alice is really, Smith is the new person, and she's done a really good job of learning a lot really quickly. Because as soon as she started, she was running with LSTA and running with the getting the checks out for state aid and all that, and so she really had to hit the ground running. So, but you're right. I think especially now in this time, if I can take some pressure off of Alice, please give me a call first and let me know what questions you have, and we'll see if we can't work through it with you first, and then I can be the point man then with Alice, so she's not getting bombarded with all these questions she might not be able to answer, or want to answer 16 times or something like that, Very good. Thank you, Sharon, for that comment. And I agree with the consistency. And I know that there's quite a few of us who have made adjustments to how we've done things because we might have been doing it a little more inflated in the past because of this and that. And it doesn't hurt to make those adjustments either, but just as long as you make those adjustments and then are consistent in how you do it in the future. So. Okay, any other questions, comments, ideas? Okay, well, I'd like to thank everybody for being here today. I hope everybody has walked away with at least some tidbit of information that they can use in the future. And again, if you have questions when the survey comes out, and if you attend the Zoom workshop that Alice is going to do for it, and you still have questions, please let me know, and we'll see if we can't work through them together. And again, like I said, the PowerPoint here will be on the website with this recording. And so if there's anything from this slideshow you want to look at, you are more than welcome to access it. So
I have one more thing that I just thought of. Don't wait
Please.
till the last minute to start collecting up this data.
yeah, I know. Yep, you're absolutely right. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of your day, and stay warm.
Thanks, George.
Thanks,
Thank you,
George.
George.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, George.
Hi, George.